What is going on, everybody? Sam Dog, the infamous 253, coming at you with Brendon Nelson as we get ready to preview Week 3 Seahawks versus Cowboys and our keys to how we're going to win this game and what we need to do to win this game. Brendon, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. Thank you for having me on yet again.
Yes, sir. Always a pleasure to have you on, so that way we can take everyone through our key takes and our personal thoughts on how we need to go through to win these games. And I know you had this one as a loss when I saw your season prediction for the schedule. But now we know for a fact that Dallas has some key injuries on their offensive line and their defense. And what are we going to need to do to capitalize on this? First thing is, obviously, we know how they were able to come back against Atlanta. But, I mean, Atlanta was able to force like 5 fumbles in the first quarter, and 3 of them Dallas ended up losing. If we can just get a good start like that, but the only difference is we cannot allow ourselves to take our foot off the pedal like Atlanta did in their game last week. So,
Yeah, I don't think there's much of anything that can be said about this defense right now, but here's what I can say. We do have some playmakers on the defense, and even though the defense is playing terribly right now, they're one of the worst defenses in the league. They are making opportunistic plays at the right moments. Obviously, you had the goal line stop last week, but I'm also thinking about the fourth downs where we got off the field. We had a couple of third and shorts that we made a tackle for loss on so far. So the way I like to put it is this. If you take a look at the season so far for the defense, on 95% of our snaps, the defense has been really bad. But on the 5% of the most important defensive snaps, we're actually playing really well because we've seen on the most important snaps we've had to play, Jamal Adams has gotten a couple sacks on those plays. LJ Collier has made a couple big plays on those. And I would even throw Bobby Wagner in there. He had a big tackle for loss against Atlanta. Quentin Dunbar had the interception. They're coming up big in the most important situation so far. And if they can keep that up, that should be enough for us to win most games we play. So all I'm looking for from the defense right now is big plays in a couple crucial situations. Get off the field on fourth down, get turnovers.
and get off the field on third and long. We gave up too many third and longs last week. Me and Dallas were saying in the live stream, we were, showing our frustrations of how pissed we were when we gave up those third and longs. Too many of them.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't think we're going to be able to stop the Cowboys offense. They have a very talented offense. They have 3 great receivers. They have a great running back. They have a great quarterback. I'm a Dak Prescott fan personally. I think he's really good.
Yeah, he is.
That is a high-powered offense that had, think about it like this. They had 3 fumbles lost against the Falcons. They had 2 fake punts that failed, and they still scored 40 points.
Yeah.
So that is a very potent, very explosive offense. And for me to expect this defense to be able to stop them it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So
It's going to be high scoring. So the main key, like you've been mentioning, it all comes down to our offense and letting Russell Wilson cook and giving him time to cook. I think we need to at least throw at least 5 or 6 touchdowns or maybe, if possible, 7. We just got to try to, keep up the high scoring. And if Mike McCarthy, I've been questioning Mike McCarthy's decision makings, which he's made some costly decisions as we've seen in the first game against the Rams when he went for it on 4th and 3. And I think it was his costly mistakes like that costed him his job in Green Bay. If we make him make a costly mistake and we capitalize, by, thwarting his certain play calling, then we have to take major advantage of it and not give them a chance like Atlanta did last week. That is another key too. And then we got to shut down CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup. And then obviously there's still Dak and Zeke who can very well run the ball pretty good, and Dak whenever he wants to. And we cannot give him those opportunities in the red to get to the red zone or bust out big runs, which is why we need Jamal Adams and other such pass rushers and run stoppers to make big plays when we need to. We all know it's going to be tough, but I expect it to be high scoring too, like you said.
yeah, there are a couple things I think this defense can do. This Dallas offensive line has really one good player right now, Zach Martin, because Tyron Smith is either playing hurt or he's not playing. They don't have La'el Collins, and his replacement is an undrafted rookie, Terrence Steele. So this might be the week some of these players on the defensive line give us a little more confidence, because what we saw against New England at the end of that game was as bad as you will ever see from a defensive line,
Yeah.
especially on those final two drives. Nobody could step up and make a play, and we came very close to blowing that game right at the end. So with Dallas playing backup tackles, and they effectively have a backup center because they replaced Travis Frederick with his backup from last year, this is an opportunity for them to at least make a few plays to make us feel a little better about them, because right now I think the fan base is very down on our defensive line with how bad they looked at the end of the Patriots game. So I think we can probably make a few plays there, and that'll be good for us as fans, as well as hopefully turning into big plays for our defense. Sacks to put the Cowboys behind the sticks, which is something we didn't get against the Patriots. We had pressure on Cam early. We had a couple of sacks on him, and we just didn't finish the play. Jamal
Yeah.
had one of those. Mayo had one of those. Collier had one of those. Got to be able to finish these sacks. We're getting pressures, but they're not resulting in big negative plays, which is
Because
to
they
me.
got to wrap up. They got to wrap up on them.
Yeah, so that's all I can say about this defense. I'm sure Dallas is going to score a bunch of points. I'm sure they're going to move the ball. All I can ask for is a few big plays to break this game up a little bit and get the ball in the hands of our offense a little more, because this offense should be ready to go this weekend, and I'm anticipating this offense to perform at a very high level.
And take advantage, of course, of Dallas's injuries. And I'm quite surprised DeMarcus Lawrence actually showed up on Dallas's injury reports along with the rookie cornerback Trayvon Diggs. I pulled it up along with, obviously, you mentioned Tyron Smith is on there too, which he has a neck injury for their offensive line. But they're taking some big hits on defense. If we can just take advantage of their missing key players on defense. We know Sean Lee is out. We already know Leighton Vander Esch broke his collarbone, so he's going to be out for a while. So we're going to have to take some deep shots, especially with all the injuries they had. And how big of an impact can our running game have with some of their key, run stoppers like Van Der Esch being out? And if DeMarcus Lawrence doesn't even play this game, like how much will we see of Carson and Hyde in this game if we can get a good running game going against these guys?
Well, I think that DeMarcus Lawrence will play. He's more of a pass rusher anyway, and quite frankly, ever since he got paid, he really hasn't done much of anything. He's been a big $100 million disappointment in Dallas so far. He got paid and has like 5 sacks in his last 18 games. It has been a big, big letdown for him in Dallas. But I'm looking at the interior of that Dallas defense, and I'm looking at the corners, because in the offseason, the Cowboys' big get on defense was supposed to be Gerald McCoy, and he's out for the year. They cut him actually already.
Yeah, I seen that.
So that was their stud defensive tackle. And we've seen the Rams dominate the interior. That's one big reason why the Rams were able to win that game in week 1. They dominated the interior of the Dallas defense and just ran the ball over and over. So our interior offensive line should be able to clear a lot of room for this running game. However, I don't want to get away from what is ultimately the most important thing on this offense, because not only are the Cowboys missing their best cornerback, who is Cheeto Awuzie, they might be missing their second cornerback, Trayvon Diggs. So at
Yeah.
corner right now, they are very weak. We should be attacking that constantly. They don't have tremendous talent at safety right now, the Cowboys. We should be able to rear back and let some passes go. And like I said with DeMarcus Lawrence, the dude has basically been invisible since he got paid last year. Aldon Smith has actually played very well so far in Dallas. He's done
Yes.
good. So they do have a credible pass rusher. Um, but to me, this game, it's important not to fall into the trap, because this game may very well see both teams score 40 points. That seems very realistic to me.
It
It seems
is.
very possible to me both teams can drop 40. We're not going to win a game like that by running the ball for 200 yards even. That's not how those kinds of games are won. So the corners are out. They've got nobody who can cover Lockett, nobody who can cover Metcalf. They got really nobody who can cover anybody. So we should not lose sight of that as we go into this game.
So we need to basically take advantage of taking some big time shots with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett deep down the field for some possible wide open touchdown opportunities if they're lacking at their cornerback spots. But how much will their backup quarterbacks be trying to play man coverage on Metcalf and Lockett, which could possibly open it up for David Moore and, of course, Freddie Swain, who happened to score his first touchdown of his career last week. I think, we can get those guys going off of bombs and, Freddie Swain coming out of the slot, which he's looked good coming out of the slot, especially when he had that touchdown against the Patriots. This could make for definitely, like you were mentioning, this could be hopefully a big time field day for our receiver core. And that's one thing that we need to get to boost, obviously, more confidence. I mean, obviously, we're already confident enough with having 9 touchdown passes through the first 2 weeks. So this to me, obviously, this game could be a real game where we really unleash Russell Wilson a lot more than we've done the last 2 weeks and really let him cook. Maybe the possibilities of maybe trying to tie an NFL record for passing touchdowns in a game. Maybe could this possibly be a game where Russell, if given the time, could have a 7 touchdown pass game if we can. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but hopefully.
I could see that kind of attack. I am sure that we're not going to ignore the fact that Dallas has nothing in the interior. I already talked about Gerald McCoy. They also don't have either of their middle linebackers. They were going with Sean Lee starting, he's out, and Leighton Vander Esch starting, he's out. They're very, very weak at linebacker as well. Their only good linebacker right now is Jalen Smith, and frankly, Jalen Smith makes a lot of mistakes. He's a very talented player who makes a lot of mistakes. So we might also see more tight ends in the game plan this week, which is something we have not seen yet. All of our tight ends so far this year have been relatively quiet. They have not had monster impacts yet. This might be the game. But yeah, absolutely. Guys like David Moore matter too. One of the best things about this offense through 2 games is how much we've spread the ball around. Carson, one of my favorite things about the offense so far this year is the fact that Chris Carson has only been on the field for about 35 snaps a game. Last year, he was on the field for about 50 snaps a game, and I think that was part of the reason why he got hurt at the end of the year. He was worn out. He was playing too much.
Hence so this year, Hence we signed Carlos Hyde, right?
Yeah, Carlos Hyde. And, I'm not a fan of Travis Homer. I think he's a very, very limited running back, but even him getting in the game every now and then and eating up a couple carries a game, that kind of stuff is going to add up over the course of the year. And finally, hopefully, we'll have Chris Carson at the end of the season.
Yeah, that would definitely be huge. And Carson had a nice ass touchdown catch last week against the Patriots on that fade route that Russell threw. I mean, none of us saw that one coming. If we can get Carson going on that again more too, I mean, even with limiting his carries and limiting the hits he's taken, having him basically near the end would definitely be huge for this offense. But also, I mean, defensive wise for us, I mean, we all know about Zeke and Dak trying to shut them down. And then, I mean, another thing we didn't talk about with the other, I mean, has Everson Griffin really had much of an impact on Dallas's defense or not really?
I think Everson Griffin's done all right so far. He got a sack against the Falcons. I don't know if he was playing better than Bruce Irvin was, although at this point that's kind of moot, unfortunately, because we don't have Bruce Irvin now for the rest of the season. But yeah, Everson Griffin is still a talented pass rusher. He's good. And combined with Alden Smith and whatever you might get in a particular week from DeMarcus Lawrence, who, like I said, he got paid and got out of there, it seems like. They do have a pass rush. They do have some guys who can get to the QB. And obviously through 2 games, we haven't seen a lot good from Brandon Shell. So that's a concern that I have about airing it out too much in this game. But at the same time, you need to be able to trust Wilson to make a man miss and still make a play. That's what he's been doing his whole career. That's why I always say the one thing that's frustrated me so far with this offensive line is the penalties, like the holding calls.
Yeah.
The offensive line has had like 4 or 5 holding calls already. Sometimes you just have to let your man go and let Wilson make him miss because that's what Wilson does. So I am a little wary of the fact that the only thing Dallas has on defense right now is a bit of a pass rush, but we can't let that change our plan. We have maybe the most explosive passing attack in football right now outside of Green Bay. We cannot get away from what we do well just because another team might be doing one thing well.
I agree. And then also, I mean, secondary wise, because we're going to obviously have Quandre Diggs back. It was unfortunate that he got ejected in that game. And then obviously it sucks losing Blair for the year. I mean, who do you think, they're going to stick on guys like Amari Cooper? Well, we have like freaking Quandre Diggs or Shaquille Griffin on Cooper. And then who's going to limit Michael Gallup and, of course, the rookie CeeDee Lamb? I mean, there's going to be the tough priority of shutting down Dallas's receiver core whenever they decide to pass instead of just feeding Zeke. I mean, we're going to have to play at least some good tight coverage on Gallup and Cooper and Lamb. So that's one of my biggest concerns if we allow them to pass all over us like Cam was able to with Julian Edelman having that field day against us last week when we were playing the Patriots.
Oh, I mean, there's no way around it. Dallas is going to pass the ball on us. Dallas is going to pass the ball well on pretty much everybody they play this year. The all I can ask for from this defense, and I'm going to keep saying this for now, the only thing we can ask for from this defense right now is to make a couple big plays to flip the game. Like turnovers. Turnovers are a big one, and we were able to force a big one against the Patriots that I think without that turnover, the game never really flips, and New England and whoever gets the ball last would have won that game.
Yeah.
So we also had a little bit of that against Atlanta with the forced fumble and some of the fourth down stops. But
Yeah.
in terms of stopping the team, it's just a lot to ask. And, I want to say I think Quentin Dunbar actually played really well in the second half of the Patriots game. It was the first half of his Seahawks career where I was like, okay, I see where this guy is fitting into this defense. He's picking up the Carroll stuff. So I think those guys are coming around. I like what Dunbar did. I think he's starting to figure things out. However, I'm a little more. I just don't think 1 week is enough time to get this defense up to the level where they can shut down an offense like Dallas. So we just need to score more. That's really all I can say about the defense right now. The only thing that's going to help this defense
Turnovers.
is time.
And, of course, getting
turnovers for in the short term. In the long term, the only thing that can make this defense good is time. We need time in the system, experience, familiarity with each other. Hopefully, by the time November rolls around, the defense is starting to figure it out. But for now, they're just going to give up points, and we as fans need to be ready for that.
And another thing is we have to keep long offensive drives going so the defense get plenty of rest on the sideline so that way they're not too gassed out. That's always been another concern with me is when we're not able to keep long offensive drives going and our defense is out there too much is we cannot let our defense be out there on the field. So that's why we got to control the time of possession as well. So we win that, and it helps our defense.
Yeah, and the offense is doing the best they can for the most part, I think, in keeping their drives going. They've had a lot of long touchdown drives this year. They're not just scoring touchdowns, they're scoring on long drives. And yes, you're absolutely right. One problem with the defense through 2 games is they're on the field too much. They've been on the field for over 150 snaps through 2 games. That's way too many. And we have several players who are playing too much. Jerron Reed, Benson Mayowa, both on the field over 80%, almost 90% of the snaps. That's how you get what you get at the end of the Patriots game when those guys are basically a complete negative out there because they're tired.
Yeah.
And I think the only other thing I can say about this game is that through 2 games, the Seahawks actually have maybe the best special teams unit in the league. They've made all of their kicks. Michael Dixon has punted phenomenally well. David Moore has a couple good punt returns. Travis Homer had a good kick return. And our coverage has been fantastic. So that is another place where we have an advantage. That's going to flip a game at some point. Maybe this ends up being the game where we make a big play on special teams that turns the game.
Yeah, hopefully, like, we force someone to, like, fumble on a punt return in that too. But I'll tell you what, Michael Dixon, ever since we got him in the draft, he's been balling. I mean, of course, he had an off year last year, but if he can pin the Cowboys deep on a punt whenever we get forced in those punting situations, like inside the 5 or about the 1 yard line, we could pin them deep. That will definitely help the defense big time as long as if our special teams can affect it. But if we can force a turnover on special teams, that would help too. Like, say a guy muffs the punt and we recover in good field position. But I'm waiting to see hopefully when Travis Homer, to me, as much as I don't like him at running back, he's had some pretty good returns in kickoff game too. And then David Moore, whenever he's getting the opportunity, my question is, I hope when will one of our guys break one out for a touchdown. That's what I want to see on the return game is one of our guys at least break one for a touchdown, which we haven't had that in a long ass time.
Yeah. Yeah, I just want players on special teams who don't fumble because our offense is so good. As long as we keep the ball, we have a very good chance of doing good things. So I do appreciate the good special teams play. David Moore looks like a legitimate punt returner, which is something we haven't had in a while, it feels like. So yeah, well, I'm just saying in general we have an advantage there. The Dallas field goal kicker, Greg Zuerlein, has already missed a kick this year that would have possibly completely changed the game in week 1 against the Rams. So that is something to look out for that could flip a game as the season goes on. It kind of already has. New England missed a field goal against us that would have made all the difference.
That helped big time too. I mean, you can never count out Zuerlein when he's kicking. The guy's as clutch as it gets, I mean, other than when he missed last year when he was a Ram. But I still can't believe they didn't send him out there on that 4th and 3 to tie the game. But we got to keep in mind we cannot let them get into Zuerlein position if they have any chances to try to come back, But we cannot put ourselves in that position again like we did last week against the Patriots.
Mm-hmm. And that's really all I can say for this one. It's going to be a high-scoring game. I don't have any illusions about that. It might end up being a game where whoever has the ball last wins, which is how a lot of games in the NFL go these days. And it might be as simple as that. But all I can say is that if we win the turnover battle, I think we'll be in a great position to win this game.
But we have to cash in on turnovers, especially like we cashed in on the Dunbar turnover. Cashing in turnovers is the most important thing that I always say. If we get it, we have to cash in. That's the most important thing to me with a turnover.
And I'm going to keep a very close eye on LJ Collier in this game because, in my opinion, through 2 games, he's played excellent. And I didn't know he was ever going to be this good, honestly. I didn't like him much coming out of the draft. I didn't like him much as a rookie, but he has come on very strong. And if he's playing against backup tackles in Dallas,
he needs to get a sack at least one sack in this game. But I'll give props to Lano Hill for blowing up the fullback, allowing LJ to stuff Cam too. But I've been impressed with the way he's been playing too, like you said, So
yeah, this might be a coming out party for LJ Collier. And the last thing I want to say about this game, and this is something that doesn't really matter to me, but it matters to some people. This is the kind of game that if Wilson outplays Dak and Wilson wins, it's going to matter at the end of the season when voters are trying to figure out who they want to vote for MVP. Last year, I think a big reason why Wilson got skunked in the MVP vote was because he lost to Lamar head-to-head. So if you're looking at stuff like that, because Dak is going to put up MVP-type numbers this year because the offense around him is so talented. And his defense is so bad, he's going to have to keep throwing. He's going to put up monster numbers like he did last year. So if you want to start thinking about Wilson trying to win MVP, him getting head-to-head over Dak, that would be nice.
It would be big time. I agree. Is there any other keys that we need to point out? Or are we pretty much good?
No, I think we're good.
All right, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in, coming in, listening to me, Brendon. And that's our thoughts for how we think we can go out and try to win this game. And let's try to get it as best we can. Try to come out with a win. Brendon, thank you once again for coming in and doing this. And as usual, Brendon Nelson, Sam Dog the Infamous 253 signing out. If you ain't with it, you ain't infamous. And as always, go Seahawks.